The Border Patrol frigate Valkyrex hovered silently above the cold void of Sector A9. Captain Jern of the Volturi Empire tapped his claws against the console, glaring at the lone gray vessel caught in the tractor beam. It was unmarked, no Empire. Registration, no broadcast signal. No known design. Suspicious. He motioned to his second-in-command. Boarded. Find out what scum dares enter Imperial space without permission. Lieutenant Threx, ever eager to please, gave a toothy grin and saluted. With pleasure, sir. 5 armored Volturi soldiers beamed aboard the ship, plasma rifles drawn. The interior was dark, cold, no signs of life at first, until they reached the main chamber. There, standing alone, was a human. A simple human. He wore a worn leather jacket, combat boots, and had a scar cutting across one eyebrow. He didn't flinch as the Volturi burst in, weapons raised. He didn't even stand from the crate he was seated on. He merely looked up and said calmly, "Took you long enough." Threx snarled. "You will identify yourself immediately." The human smirked. "I'm Captain Reeve." The name meant nothing to Threx. He stepped forward. "You are trespassing in restricted Imperial space. Under Article 7, Subsection 12 of the Volturi Dominion, you're under arrest." Reeve stretched his neck, then sighed. "I warned them not to stop this ship." With a flick of his wrist, he tapped something on his wristband. "Too late now," he added quietly. Above them, on the bridge of the Valkyrex, alarm screamed. Multiple warp signatures massive. The sensor officer cried. Captain Jern leaned forward. "Show me!" The view screen lit up with streaks of light tearing through space. Dozens of massive ships emerged, sharp and angular, painted black and crimson. They didn't belong to any. Registered Galactic Fleet. Then came the larger signature. One colossal warship, stretching nearly 2 kilometers long, appeared with a thunderclap of energy. Its prow bore the unmistakable sigil of the Emperor of the Forsaken Suns, a myth to most, a ghost to others. The crew froze. What in the stars?" Jern whispered. A deep voice boomed over all frequencies. "This is the 9th Imperial Legion of the Terran Shadow Throne. You have detained one of the Emperor's captains. Prepare for boarding or annihilation." Back aboard the captured vessel, Threx had heard the same message. He turned slowly toward Reeve, pale. "You're one of them?" Reeve stood, cracking his knuckles. "Yeah, Captain of Recon Unit Omega 5, Imperial Terran Legion." He smiled without humor. "I came here for a quiet pickup. But now? You've made this messy." The ship's lights turned red as emergency override codes flooded in. The human vessel systems came to life control not from inside, but from the warship now floating outside. Reeve looked Threx dead in the eye. "You stopped the wrong spaceship." Within minutes, 5,000 soldiers were beamed into the Valkyrex. They wore sleek obsidian armor, glowing faintly with crimson veins of power. Their helmets hissed as they deployed, faces hidden behind expressionless black masks. Precision incarnate. At their head walked a figure who made even Captain Jern's blood freeze. She wore no helmet, just a crown of obsidian thorns and a long cloak that billowed behind her despite the lack of wind. Her eyes glowed gold. Her voice was soft, but it silenced the entire bridge. "You dared to touch one of my captains." Jern fell to his knees, shaking. "Well, we didn't know." The Empress of Flame War, Captain Sailra, chosen hand of the Terran Emperor, stepped forward. "Your ignorance is not a shield." She motioned once. Half the crew was disarmed and bound in seconds. The other half simply surrendered without resistance. Then Reeve appeared beside her, his jacket now replaced by his black officer's armor, lined with the same glowing crimson veins. He looked around the Valkrex's bridge with casual contempt. "Do you remember," he said slowly, "what your people did to humans 2 centuries ago?" Jern didn't answer. He didn't need to. The Volturi had once enslaved a Terran colony. They thought humans weak, fragile. That colony was the first and the last. because what rose from the ashes of that massacre wasn't a victimized species. It was a wrathful empire. One that never forgot. The Valkyrex was impounded. Captain Jern and his officers were taken tried under Terran law aboard one of their dread courts. The rest of the crew were released with a single message delivered across the Volturi channels. Touch one of us again, and we won't just come for your ship, we'll come for your stars. The message echoed across the fringe worlds. Then, deeper into the core, empire after empire received the footage of the arrival, the overwhelming force, the silent, surgical precision. It reminded the galaxy of something they'd forgotten. Humans were not a minor species. They were the blade, hidden in shadow, the empire that grew in silence. The people who, when pushed, did not bend. They returned. Later, as Reeve sipped coffee aboard his command deck, Sarah walked beside him. You could have told them who you were, she said. Reeve chuckled. And ruined the surprise? She allowed herself a rare smile. We were already in warp before your signal, you know. I figured, he replied. Still, glad to see you again, Commander, she nodded. Next time, don't go alone, Reeve shrugged. They'll think twice now. He stared out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, other empires still thought of humans as footnotes, as relics, but soon they'd remember. They all would.